Hello everyone and welcome back to the FilmDirt Lounge. Well, after checking out AVP last week, it wouldn't be right not to check out the sequel as well. So earlier today I revisited Aliens vs Predator Requiem. Note that it's Aliens with an S, just like the second movie. And this came out 2007. This is the unrated edition or unrated extended of the latest Blu-ray release, which I'm pretty sure the original DVD was when I saw it way back. Directed by the brothers Strause, Greg and Colin, who were VFX artists for many years on many big movies and also directors of music videos and commercials. And I can probably see why Fox went with them. Probably seemed quite interesting on paper. There's got to be something to be had for giving first-time directors their big break, especially if they're fans of the material. So here they are with a much darker sequel than the original AVP was, both in tone and colour grading, I guess. It's very dark throughout this film, which has been very widely documented. And firstly, look at this great Japanese poster for the movie I found. It makes it seem absolutely awesome. I was pleasantly surprised in some ways while revisiting this. When I reviewed the first AVP last week, I did remark at the end that I was curious whether time had been kind to AVP2. And I think it has in some ways. I kind of enjoyed this more than the first movie. It does seem to be taking more extreme risks, more extreme body horror sequences, and just an overall nutty action story, especially since the human characters here definitely take a back seat. They're not as memorable, and it's kind of bordering on a teen angst movie. So thankfully that side of things isn't too intrusive, and the second half of the film, the action definitely does take over. If only we could see what was going on. Something's happened to the colour grading here, because even in the daylight scenes, it's still dark with a very high contrast. Now I have read that the directors themselves mentioned a creative choice, rather than the theory that they tried to darken the image just to hide certain issues with the costumes and the VFX. Now, if they're VFX artists themselves and they're not confident in their own work, maybe there would be a valid case for deliberately darkening the image, but it's really preventing the viewer from seeing what is going on. Try to turn up the brightness, maybe 10%, but we all know that doesn't really work. The film probably does need a remaster just to maybe lighten things up a little bit visually. But then again, if it was a creative decision, there's something to be had for not being able to see much. I mean, that in effect really is quite scary, isn't it? When you walk into a room, if you're scared of the dark, you have to reach for the light and turn it on. No one likes being in pitch darkness. And if there's villains and monsters roaming around, you definitely don't want to be in darkness. And that's more terrifying when you just can't see what's around you. So I can see the theory behind that. But on the other hand, you're ruining a movie. And there seems to be some good action here. Even though not the best movie in the world, there could be something quite enjoyable to be had here. So it pretty much starts where the previous film left off. One of the predators is on its ship and it's infected with an alien embryo that hatches, and it's a crossbreed with the features of the predator, its host. There's the inevitable fight on board, and this causes the ship to crash land back on Earth. And the part that did amuse me is that they sent another predator from the homeworld to act as cleaner and investigate what's going on and make things disappear with this blue liquid he pours on everything. I mean, that's great just to make any evidence vanish like that. So as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot more extreme body horror here. Lots of acid effects, burning, dismemberment, in stark contrast to the first AVP, which was rather light in quite a lot of areas of that film. Here they've gone real balls to the wall. And the alien creature in itself was a fantastic design. But the fights look great, very convincing, very little in the way of CG, which is quite a surprise considering the directors. But it kind of works, so maybe you could say the darkness of the colour grading may have helped in certain areas of the movie. there does seem to be quite a lot of costume effects, and we know that Tom Woodruff Jr., he again returned to play the Xenomorphs and the Pred Alien, and Ian Whyte is again the Predator. I think he was the cleaner Predator as well. And also what I found interesting and a little bit confusing as well was that the Pred Alien is also an egg layer, so there's no need for a queen. I'm just wondering how it becomes an egg layer, because the Predator aspect of that DNA doesn't really lay eggs. But what an interesting effect, and it adds to the horror, especially when it latches onto the face of a couple of people there, especially the pregnant woman, who is definitely pregnant, not only with her own child now, and it's genuine horror. So even though the humans aren't really significant in this story, we've got Reiko Aylesworth pretty much leading this film, along with John Ortiz playing the sheriff. And their story from pretty much halfway, where we are introducing the military, that's when the film does improve for me. And of course the military, or the National Guard here, did invoke memories of the colonial marines, and that's what I was looking forward to. Of course it never played that way, maybe an opportunity missed. So as I alluded earlier, I kind of preferred the sequel. Both the horror and action seems to be an improvement, with the one major thing letting it down is of course the unforgivably dark colour grading. And I can't really see any movement online demanding that they remaster this movie. This is creatively how it's supposed to be. It's a choice, I'll give them that, but it doesn't really work here. We want to see these awesome costumes. So I would recommend, if you can, just up the brightness 10%, just so it doesn't look too washed out. And keep reminding yourself that this is a creative choice by the filmmakers, just to reinforce the horror in what you can't see. So I'll give this a score now. I'm going to give it a little more than I gave the first AVP. I'll give this 3 stars. Might be controversial, but I did kind of prefer this. It's still not great, but more enjoyable. Maybe it is the increased horror and the nutty action it presented. And also, the score was by Brian Tyler, and you can definitely hear little notes from the second Predator movie. When the Predator was in the city, you can hear the drum beats. And that was a nice reminder of human population here, even though it was a smaller town rather than LA. So I'm genuinely interested if I'm on my own here in preferring this over the first AVP. If you don't care either way, and let's be honest, not many people did, I don't think these two are held in any high regards. But feel free to let me know in the comments below. And next, it looks like I'll have to revisit Prometheus. I'll have to get my brain in check for that and be prepared to try and understand it again, because it did escape me before. That review will be coming soon. So thank you again for joining me for this re-evaluation of AVP2 Requiem. Join me again soon for a chat on Prometheus. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Speak soon. All the best and take care.